As some of you know, I've dealt with very intense health anxiety, general anxiety, and panic attacks for around 5 years. In all of those years, symptoms were all I could think of, and these worries about my physical state had such a gigantic impact on me that it spread and reflected into all aspects of my life. What started with that one major panic attack that seemed to have come out of nowhere turned into a life with physical sensations of anxiety every single day, not just sporadically, not just every now and then, but symptoms that stuck 24/7. The thing is that when it all started, I had close to no idea of what anxiety is and never paid close attention to the topic at all. So when it hit with its overwhelming force as a panic attack, well, of course I believed it to be a sign of some major catastrophic health scare, like a stroke or a heart attack. I was rushed to the ER, declared healthy, and left relieved. I thought that was it. I believed it to be the end of the whole story. I was tired and drained, but still felt pretty much in peace with the diagnosis. But then the next day, back in the office, I started getting all these sensations again. My chest tightened up, my heart was pounding hard, my breathing seemed not satisfying, and I had this tingling feeling all over my body. That was it. In that moment, I knew something was up. Jumped onto Google, just so that I would know what to tell the doctors they should look for. I found dozens of terrifying things on there, but could pinpoint it to 1 or 2 different things at first. And the rest of the story you can pretty much imagine. I was told I was fine, and that I should rest. The difference this time was that the relief I felt wasn't as great as it was the first time. I had doubts, wondered if they have ran the wrong tests for the disease I may be suffering, and things like that. With that in the back of my mind, I was constantly in the state of worry, which in itself kept fueling my anxiety and the symptoms. And the worst part was that whatever reassurance I now got had less and less of an effect. It got to a point in which I believed that I knew more than some random doctor and would get pretty frustrated and mad if they didn't do exactly what I've just learned from some internet article or forum post I've had read the day before. That's how desperate I was to finally make this stop and have a logical explanation for all of this. But now, after fully recovering and looking back, I can see patterns that I did wrong, and most importantly, I've recognized the biggest mindset flaw that I believe so many with anxiety have. See, while it's of course true that some unresolved trauma, even from very far back, can be the root cause of anxiety issues down the line, I believe that for many, if not most of you watching this right now, that isn't the case. Full disclaimer here, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm possibly using the terms wrong, but I think you'll understand what I mean. I believe that for many it was either an accumulation of many stressors over a long period of time, or one intense spurt of stress that has pushed you over into fight or flight mode, and that, what feels like completely out of context. Because stress can accumulate subtly without one really noticing any significant physical or mental changes, or that sudden stressful event brought you into fight or flight mode in an instant, they both feel like they happened for no good reason at all. In that moment, you have no anchor point, and cannot logically explain what is going on with you. And because of that, the intense and overwhelming feeling of danger that is a byproduct of fight or flight mode, mixed in with its physical sensations, are now your true source of trauma. Yes, I say trauma, because I truly believe that those first few panic attacks and the uncertainty are traumatizing. Your own ancient protective reaction that is supposed to keep you safe is now the source for most of your stress, and because you can't simply avoid your body, well, you're basically your own source of constant inflow of new stress hormones. What that constant inflow does is that it affects your mind and keeps you in that constant fear of being in danger. It fires up symptoms that are there to get you running from or fighting off that fear. It's exactly those aches, twitches, skipped heartbeats, and the shallow breathing, just to name a few, that will bring you right back into that traumatized state. And for me, it got to a point in which I developed something close to phobias to certain feelings and sensations. Listening to my heartbeat, for example, was such an intense feeling of dread to me that it would spiral me into a panic attack right away. So we feel trapped and do everything possible to get out of it and make the symptoms stop. We go to doctors, get all sorts of tests done, keep searching for supplements, join forums, try out new meditation techniques, and do whatever we can to keep us distracted as much as possible, just so that we do not have to face these sensations again. And hey, it does work to some extent, as some of these actions will give us short bursts of relief and can feel like we are doing something good or proactive towards our recovery. And they might very well be. But here I would like to tweak your recovery mindset just a little bit and say that in order to overcome this traumatized state, which I believe as explained above we have to take as many opportunities as possible to expose ourselves to the thoughts and symptoms that create the fear reaction. And I know, it's so easy said, but so difficult to do. However, you have to get away from the mindset that your top priority goal is to keep the symptoms at bay and make them stop. They will only ever truly stop once you've successfully learned to be comfortable in this uncomfortable situation. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but hear me out. What this means is that you should know and expect that symptoms will always pop up and they will create inner fear within you. And when they do, try not to hastily look for something to make it stop. Do your best to remain where you are. Notice what is happening right now. Remind yourself of all your negative tests. Remember that you've done everything you could and let the sensations pass without that strong inner battle to make it stop. Feeling dread and intense fear are part of the process. There isn't much that you can do to get that quick relief. But to make this whole process easier, I would suggest that you purposefully try to expose yourself to your triggers right after you've done something that will get you into a positive and lower stress state. Maybe you just came back from a run or had a great day with friends and feel overall good. Those are the moments you should gather your courage and try to face these situations again, because that's exactly when you are mentally the strongest and can most rationally think. In general, I believe that there is very little you can do to make symptoms stop when being in this tensed up and overwhelmed state. We have just trained ourselves to be immensely in tune with our body and will pick up on any little physical abnormality. And this is why you will need to stop looking for that quick fix or that one thing that will make anxiety somehow magically go away, but be prepared and know that you will feel uncomfortable at first. It's a bit like you have to feel worse before you feel better. You will need to resist that itch to look up symptoms, go to doctors, or to seek any other kind of reassurance, all while stacking up positive habits and creating a great anxiety routine that would ultimately give you that mental strength to face your triggers and rewire your brain. It's kind of like a back and forth of these two. You work hard on lowering stress in your anxiety downtime and then use that momentum to kind of expose yourself to the feelings and sensations again. You're training yourself to being okay with the symptoms, tolerate and navigate them without that overwhelming urge to resist. Do this over and over again and you will successfully manage to lower stress and have rewired your brain to lose these phobias. Remember that you can't fix any phobia or trauma without dealing and confronting it. It's the same thing with health anxiety. Once you start learning and accepting the symptoms of anxiety and how they feel and what kind of reactions they will cause to you, well, that's where the whole process of lowering stress really gets rolling. Just really do me a favor and note down symptoms that freak you out the most and plan out your daily routine that is geared towards lowering stress. Stick to it no matter what, and I'm certain that in the long run you will see great results and will find facing your triggers so much easier. You have to stop thinking that anxiety recovery is something that will happen in a day, a week or so, but it's something that you build up and train towards for a longer period of time. During that time, there will be symptoms and there will be fear, of course, and that is normal. But if you continue to learn more about your anxiety, accumulate positive habits, while simultaneously get accustomed to the physical sensations, all that knowledge and self-discipline will triumph over your anxiety, and you will be completely anxiety symptom free. Thanks for watching everyone, and if you're new here and want to see more anxiety related content just like this one, consider subscribing.